Okay, hi, my name is Geoffrey, and I'm going to talk to you about static sites with Gatsby. If I'm too soft or something, just let me know, and I'll be louder. It's also my first time doing a technical talk, so if I'm doing something wrong, just shout. So, who am I? I'm a freelance developer. I really like JavaScript. That's why I come to a lot of these meetups. I think of myself a little bit like a maker. I like to dabble in electronics and things like that. I also have a 3D printer. It looks a little different to that. And then I enjoy running. Hence my blog is Running Developer. Running helps me think. So yeah, I like to run a lot. Just randomly, this is my latest random project thing. So that's talks to Strava, and it's hanging on my wall, and it's trying to get me to run more. Because it's on my wall, it's in my face. So there, I didn't run on Wednesday. I'd be and I should try run on Thursday. So yeah, so that's something. And then a run I recently did that was kind of interesting was I ran up Ponte City Tower, that big round tower, that scary one in Joburg. It's a ton of stairs and nice view at the top. So that's just something. Right, so my talk, I want to talk about how I got to Gatsby through a bit of a story of some things I tried. And then I want to quickly talk about Gatsby and why it's so cool. And then I'm going to try a demo to show you what Gatsby is about. All right, so these are the things I've tried, loosely based on my blog. Yeah, so let's start. Okay, so as you do when you start a blog, you're cool, I'm going to go for the easiest thing. Back in the day, I went for WordPress. And let me just get my notes in case I forget something. But yeah, so I was totally new to this web development thing. I used shared hosting, which sucked because I couldn't really control things that I wanted to. So then I tried, all devs do, yeah, I'll run my own server. And the problem with that was, it was great. I could do some optimizations and things like that. But maintenance was hard. I had to reboot the thing now and again. And also, I didn't know what I was doing, so I'm sure the security was really dodgy. And I had to keep this thing running all the time. So there was a cost. So that's why there's these thumbs down. And with WordPress, it's hard to make things fast without doing a lot of work. But I'll just say, I like WordPress. I like what they do. And I do use them now and again. But this is just my journey. So then, I actually got a job at a company. And then they were doing Angular apps. So Angular 1, because this is a while back. And, when you're coming from PHP and stuff like that, and they teach you how to use Angular, you're holy crap, this is amazing. I want to do everything in Angular. So that's me. So I'm okay, cool. Now I can just write my app, my blog in Angular. But there's a couple issues. But the first one is that now I don't need to have a server, sort of, because it's just static files. So I can put it on a CDN or S3. So that's a good tick there. And there's no DB, because I could pull data from JSON files or something. But I'm still talking about Angular 1. You had to wait for the page to load. You had to wait for the JavaScript to come down for anything to show. If you hit a route that was wrong, it always has to go to the index file, and that got a bit complicated. And then for SEO, if you curl, so I don't know if you can see that, but if I curl that, that's all I get. So Google might show my blog as post.title with these those arrow tag things. And if you shared something to Facebook, it might also only show post.title, which is a problem when you have a blog. So yeah, so I didn't actually end up doing that. Then I thought, okay, cool. I'm going to get into this static site generator thing. And also at work, we're using Gulp, so I thought, let me use Gulp. If you don't know what Gulp is, it's just like a build tool, and it takes files on your computer, and you pipe it into functions, and they give you out certain things. So if I want to minify a CSS file, or I want to generate a couple of files, I pipe them into this thing, some stuff comes out. And this was cool because, yeah, no server again. Now I get the SEO and sharing because the output is just HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So it's pure HTML. So Google can read it, Facebook, all those things can read it easily. This is cheap and fast because I'm just hosting files. And yeah, so the drawback with this was, because I wrote all myself, it was really dodgy and brittle. So all these files and all the functions, all my Gulp functions were my own. And like it just got too much for me. Like when I wanted to change like a little piece, I had to change 5 things. And also, you know, I didn't need to reinvent the wheel. Like a lot of static site generating frameworks already do a bunch of things that I was doing. So here's like an example of a task, but it's just a bunch of things like make page, minify, all this junk that if I broke something, or if I wanted to change a small thing, it'd be very hard. Right, so I was working on the Mac, so it's a bit squished. But I thought a good time now to talk about static sites, just a quick overview of what they are. So yeah, no servers, kind of. You know, they're still servers, but they're just serving a static content. They're just typing HTML, JavaScript, CSS to your browser. So nothing too complicated. And you know, people have been doing that forever. So they're really good at it. So that lowers the cost. A static site also shouldn't have a backend database layer unless you're doing it through an API. And yeah, SEO friendly. These are some static site generators that are like some of the main ones. Like Jekyll is how everything started. That's how you used to get your blog onto like GitHub or your docs. And that was using Ruby. And then there's some other JavaScript ones. Hugo is a Go one, which is nice. And then Gatsby, which I'm going to talk about now, soon. And this is all part of the Jam stack. So JavaScript run on the client, that you run JavaScript on the client. APIs, if you need a contact form or something like that, use APIs. And then markup, that's what the M stands for. And that means like you make some of the markup before you send it up. So that's with templates and things. So that's what the Jam stack's about. And in case you're not sure what I'm talking about, this is what basically a static site generator does. You got some content. It's normally like in a file. It could be a JSON file. It could be a markdown, bunch of files. So that would be my blog posts. And then you'd make a template. You'd have a template, something to render that blog in a nice way. And then you build it, and out comes your static site, only HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, and you send that up to your server. So like the old days, kind of. So, you know, going from that Gulp thing, I decided to actually use a static site generator, and the one I chose was Hexa. I chose Hexa because it was made in JavaScript, and it was like fun, and it wasn't Go, and I didn't have to learn anything too new. And this had all the great things as the Gulp thing had, but it had like a bunch of plugins that solved all the common tasks, like make a sitemap, paging, all this like stuff that I wrote in the Gulp file that got way too complex. This Hexa had plugins that were tested by the community, and they are always better and written by probably better people. So the great thing is all I need to focus on with this static site generator is like the theme, like the presentation layer. That's the only thing I need to focus on. I don't need to worry about paging and other stuff like that. The issue with Hexa was that nowadays we're really used to like JavaScript and like an app. So when you like navigate to a new page or something, it's like quick, because they're like pulling the data and the presentation before you go to the next page. And because this outputs like static HTML files, in different folders, for example, when you go from home to about, you still have to load the page again. It's not a biggie, but you'll notice it if you're used to like something going to the next page and go, like really quick. So that was the issue. And the other issue with this one was, if I wanted to do something fancy in the page, like JavaScript, I don't know, bounce a button or something like that, I needed to load that afterwards. So it wasn't seamless. With Angular and things like that, and React, you used to, like, you're doing it in the app itself, in the page itself. So it's not seamless. So that was the issue with this one. It's not seamless. But this was really good. Like, this one works. If you just want to do something simple, Hexa is a good option if you're in the JavaScript community. So finally, why I chose Gatsby, well, I saw some talks and things, but basically I was like, I can write React, which is cool. Like, React's awesome. And all these frameworks are doing server-side rendering to help with SEO and that stuff I was talking about. But now I can do server-side rendering without a server, which is like really cool, cost-wise and things like that. And then without much effort, it's really fast. Gatsby helps you make things really fast. So if you do one of their starter themes and you run the Lighthouse, you get really good scores. This is roughly like what it does, but I'll show you in the demo in a second. But basically, you're doing React for your presentation layer. You have something called GraphQL, which is like a unified language to get the data into your views. And the cool thing about it is you can pretty much query any data, any headless CMS, or even a CMS that's running, maybe even Firebase or something, Google Docs, whatever you want. And then it's fast. And once you build this, you get a static site. And there's tons of community plugins, which is also good. So you don't have to do like stuff over and over. And then, yeah, they just released version 2, which they were using WebWebPack 1 a while ago, and now they're on 4, so, or higher. I don't know what it is now, but you don't need to know WebPack, which is useful. So now I'll just try a demo. So I'm just going to run a simple, I'm just going to run a starter. And this is what I've done, is I've installed the CLI, and I've done Gatsby new demo site. All right, so let's try this quick. Okay, so after you run that, this is what you get. Okay. And it's basically like React. Let me pull up my cheat sheet just as well. Sorry. All right. Yeah, so if you want, the tutorial is really cool. So there's a tutorial on Gatsbyorg. It goes through like from basics. So if you don't even know React, this is like a good way to sort of get to know it. They go from super basic all the way to using CSS and JavaScript. So all that cool stuff. And then, like I said, the starters, they got a starter library here with, if I want to start a blog, I'll just start with the blog starter, and then I'll edit it to make it nice. And they got a whole bunch. Right. So what else we're going to do is, okay, so now we got this, so once I've installed that starter, I get, just a normal project. And if I write Gatsby develop, it's going to start a development server and do hot module reloading, all that good stuff you're used to in like React, create React. Cool. So it gives you this website. So this is the starter, super basic. It's got 2 pages. And if you see like what I'm talking about with the quickness, you're used to going to the next page very quickly. And this is built in. Okay, what else? Okay, so show hot module reloading. So if I come here to source, this is where everything is. The way they do, if you ever tried Next.js, it's a similar thing. If you want to go to page 2, put a page2.js in the pages folder. Simple as that. And you got your page. So we got the index. This is just a React component, if you're kind of used to it. And like I just say, just to show you the hot module reloading, it's quick. It's seamless in a sense. Right. So also got a components thing, and that's also just like React components, and you can add that to your site, your actual pages, and all good. All right. What else? Okay. I'll just quickly show you links. Okay, so I'll just quickly make a new page so we can just see what it's like. So I'll just do a new page. So do page 3. I'm just going to paste in the code so I don't screw it up. So here's another page. Gatsby's got this link component, and that helps you do that prefetching and going through the page very easily. It uses a reach router under the hood, if that means anything to someone. So if I save this, we should get a new page. Oops. React. Import React. Cool. So, and then I need to put a link on the home page to get there. So we can just quickly put a link, and then I go to page 2. Three. I don't think you actually need the dash, but cool. Sorry, but that's actually page 3. Okay. So now we can go to page 3. So, without a lot of work, I've got some pages, and which is great. Okay, then, so like I said, the way you get data into Gatsby is with GraphQL. All right. So let me just show you. They give you a GraphQL Explorer over here. Okay, so this is also running on that localhost thing, and you can just query something. So if we look over here, sorry. Okay, so I'm going to query this site metadata title, and that's what I get back. And where is that? Gatsby comes with a config file, and then this config file gets pulled into the GraphQL queries when they build it. So what I was calling there was up here, site metadata title. That's what I got. If I want to add something else, I can just do that. The config file has plugins and things, so you need to rerun everything for that part. Okay, so now that's going. I just need to refresh this. Now I can actually query apples too. And you see how easy it was to query this? I can do the same in the site itself. So let's rather go to the cheat sheet. So if we're on page 2, we just need to import GraphQL. Okay, it's part of Gatsby, so that's what I'm doing up there. We need to say data, so we're going to give data to this component. And then we can actually call data from that. So let's do h2. And that's what I'm querying, data.site.metadata.apples. Well, I think I might have said apple, but we'll see if it errors. And all you do right at the bottom or anywhere is put your GraphQL query in that same page. And if we run that, now hopefully we'll see apples on page 2. And that's there. So really easy to pull data from that config file. They have a ton of plugins, and this is where it's really nice, because they got a bunch of things called source plugins. And you saw there I was querying the config.js file for that apples thing. This is how you could add like Firebase or something. You know. So you can add all these like source plugins, and then you can just query things with GraphQL the way you want to put it on your page, the way you want to show it, which is really cool and fairly easy. I just want to show you the file system plugin, because that's the easiest. So you can actually query the files on your computer in your folder. So I've added the file, the Gatsby source file package already. But all I'm going to do now is go to the config. These are the plugins over here. So this is for SEO. This is included in the starter. There's a manifest to help you with PWAs, and then offline, and that's running like Workbox in the back of that to make you get that great Lighthouse score. So I'm pasting this source file system plugin. It's got some options. So I'm saying, give me everything in the source, or call it source, and then give me everything in the source. So let me just show you what that does. We have to just rerun that. Something broke. I really thought I installed it. Damn. I hope it goes quick, because I've installed it before, so hopefully. Okay, well, while that's going, let's see what the cheat sheet says. Okay, so this is the query. All right. So now I'm going back to that query thing we have at the top in that serve to. Now I want to query all the files. So I can just need to refresh. Okay, cool. And now I'm querying all the files in the source folder. So I got a header, components, stuff like that. So that's cool. If we just, so if we want to maybe query some pictures to make it a bit better, we can, I'll just quickly paste some images into the folder. Sorry. Okay, so I got a folder of images here. If I paste that here, yeah, I'll just go over that. Cool. We can just query the images. You'll see some images pop up. So I paste in the right. Maybe I was rerun. Okay, so there's some image. Oh no. Let's retry that. Oh, I've pasted in the wrong. Oh, demo site final. I tried to do a test before. Okay, so if we query that, yeah, so now we got all these pictures, which is also cool. So that means you could put them on the page, which I think I got some code here somewhere to do that. Okay, so same thing is I'm pasting that query into page 2. So I'm just going to paste it underneath this site query. All files, give me the name, give me the public URL. And then I'm just going to loop over them to show them on the page. So data.allfiles.edges, if you see it's .edges, node, name. So we can just try that. And then on page 2, we don't have the pictures. That's embarrassing. Oh, key. Keys must be, didn't add a key. But I did add a key. It's layout. Oh, what I've done is, I think there's 2 files called the same thing, which makes sense. So what we can do is, we can actually filter this query to, we can actually say, actually only show me the images. So how we do that is, in the config, we can actually, we don't need source, we can actually call this one images, and say source/images. Okay. And now it'll only look in the images for that, I think. Alright, so there we got the images. You might have, yeah, so just a bunch of random images. Okay, what else can I show you that's cool? Okay, the other cool thing is you have source packages. Okay, you have source packages, and then you have transformer packages, and that basically takes a source and transforms it into something that you like. So say you had markdown files, okay, so posts. you'd query it with the file system, but then you need to get information out of it as well. So that's where a transformer plugin comes into play. So I'll just quickly show you, maybe you'll get it, and then I'll stop. Okay, so I just got some posts here. Paste in here. And the post is just some markdown. So it's got a title, date. Okay. I can query that. So let's just paste it all. Let's just do the main. I won't show you in the GraphQL Explorer thing, but I'll just put this in page 3. Okay, so I'm querying all the markdown. I can give it some formatting. I can even format the date, which is nice. And that'll give me out what I want. And an example of that is here. Okay, so like again, I'm just looping through each post, putting out some things. I think I need to add Gatsby here. No, sorry, GraphQL. Okay. Failed to compile. Because I don't. Oh, I need to tell them about. I need to add the plugin. I need to first say look in posts. Right, so that's saying get me the files, and then I need to actually add the remark transformer. So remark is a JavaScript module that helps read markdown files. So we just add that here, and then I'll just compile this, and then what am I doing wrong? Oh, Jesus. Okay, let's just go to another one. Let's go to the one I did earlier. Okay, so if we do that one, and we just do Gatsby develop. Oh, Jesus. Okay. It's because I deleted that Gatsby image. Okay, cool. Okay. Page 2, page 3. Okay, so like I was just showing you, that's what those markdown files are. Okay, so I'm going to wrap up quick. I had some other things I thought to show you, but I think we're good. Let's just build it and check the Lighthouse score for fun. Okay, so if you want to build this site, you've done everything you want. You just hit Gatsby Build, and it's pretty quick. So, you know, if you have a continuous development thing going, and you change things now and again, posts not that often, you can run this all the time. Every time you have new content. Okay, so, and then we can do Gatsby develop. I mean, not develop, serve. Just gives you an example of what it really would be like. So we go here to inspect, And we can go to audits. Right, so that's the stuff I added, and it's running pretty good. One thing I didn't, obviously don't have time to show you, but there's a great image loader in Gatsby. You know, if you go to Medium, you see the image sort of like go pixelated then full, and that helps you with the score too. So I don't know if you saw that, but that's without doing too much work. You can just see here I've added these things here that help with the image, and then as long as you can query the images, you're good. Yeah, and once you query the images, you're A for away. Okay, so basically what I'm trying to say is just like go have a look at the tutorial. Maybe try run the tutorial, because it does a better job than me to explain what this is all about. But if you've done a little bit of Angular or a little bit of React or something, it's so easy to just get moving if you follow this tutorial. So other players that are useful in this static site generating thing where there's JavaScript involved is ViewPress. So Vue has a similar thing to Gatsby called ViewPress. We're using Vue, and it also outputs static things for you. They're using it for their docs. And then Next.js, I saw just released a export function. So if you're actually using Next.js and you're happy with that, you can just use the export. And then there's a bunch there. And then another really cool thing about Gatsby is they have like a really good community. So when I was like researching this, I saw a typo, and I was like so lucky that I saw it, you know, for Hacktoberfest, just by accident. And I just changed like a link, and then they put it in, and then basically I can get a t-shirt now from Gatsby. I get another one of these, but like purple. So yeah, that's just saying, you know, if you have like a content site that doesn't have to update like right now, maybe use Gatsby and just deploy every now and again. Yeah, I hope that makes sense. Any questions? Sorry.
Thanks. It looks really cool. I think, like, I've got a WordPress site as well. One of the most powerful things about it is I can pick a theme and change some images and stuff. I see there's like some starter templates, but is it like a sort of marketplace? Because I'm not like the best graphic designer. I want to be able to pay $10, buy a theme, and apply it to my static site. Do you know if there's anything like that at the moment?
I haven't seen any themes, but there are a lot of like a bootstrap, you know, that's already hooked up for you. If you want the bootstrap styling, what's the Google one? But anyway, the material, like things like that, there are a lot of them. I haven't really seen like themes that people have made, but because it's so easy, I think it's quite nice. And then like they talk about CSS in JavaScript, and like I find that really nice. Like I didn't enjoy it before, but like now it just makes sense. Talking about the WordPress thing, you can have WordPress as your data source. So there's a source plugin for WordPress. So they've made the GraphQL queries for you to get posts and images out. So if you connect to your WordPress site, you can pull that down and show it the way you want, you know, rather than writing PHP.
Awesome.
Yeah, which is cool.
Is there a way to optimize and bundle songs together into the solution? So if you want to deploy it to large databases on that, what would be the best way? To just copy the public folder?
Yeah. Yeah, so when you say build, it outputs a public folder. You can just put that up. But saying that, there are also plugins to help you get this onto S3 or something like that, or Netlify, which is a good one. And you can add that into your like package.json. You can even get like a container or something to build it for you and put it up. So it's really easy. It's just taking that folder and putting it up online.
So, building on that question, so it uses Webpack, you say, right?
Yeah.
And all this stuff,
Yes.
how does the code splitting work?
So they've done that for you.
Yeah.
So they're so they're doing it for you. I don't actually have to see Webpack.
Yeah.
You can adjust Webpack if you want in the config, if you wanted to. There's a lot of settings that you can do, but they've optimized it, with code splitting and all that stuff already, without me having to think too much about it, which is nice. And one cool thing, to get that Lighthouse score is they inline the most important JavaScript, all that cool stuff. And they prefetch pages once the thing is loaded, once the page is loaded. So.
If there's a situation where a customer's perhaps you've done a blog using this for them, and then they want to perhaps hassle you, update, put their own posts through. I mean, in the ecosystem, is there perhaps something that will facilitate that, where they can upload new pages, maybe do some basic styling, and then have it deployed?
So I'm not sure about styling, but there's a bunch of headless CMS things that you can use now. I think there's one called Craft CMS, and basically you can have your project and say, give that to the content team, all right? And when they update that you basically have an API, and you can then, when you run your thing, you're pulling the new data in. So, or you could make your own backend for this with an API exposed that builds now and again. I saw on Netlify, which is this static host, they specialize in static site hosting. They have these things called webhooks. So going on that craft CMS thing, you could say every time I add a new post, hit this URL, and Netlify will build your Gatsby site, pulling that new data in. So it's really cool, especially for I think for a business, because this is so cheap to host. And if you're just putting a blog post now and again about this dev talk, it's great, once a week.
I just saw you were typing and there was a Gatsby Flaming module. Flaming is actually South African company.
Oh, cool.
There's a CMS backend with no front end. So you build your front end and you just point to the backend. That means that you can have the entire CMS backend and use Gatsby Plugins.
Yeah, that's their use case. They want you to use a headless CMS somewhere else, or host maybe your WordPress at your business. Let people do that and then just build it to live somewhere else. So that, headless CMS is exactly what they're doing. Gatsby recently got some funding, and they want to build that kind of ecosystem themselves. So that's where they're going to charge. But this thing is free forever, open source. This part, the building part. Because the problem is, the problem that they're also trying to solve is, for a client, you can't have a preview. Like in WordPress, you can push that preview button to see what your post is going to look like. So I can do that as a developer, but if my content team wants to see what it's going to look like, that's a problem. But that's one of the things they're also trying to solve. They They're going to go for a headless CMS with some kind of preview button, and they're going to build your site for you. So that's where they're going to pull in the money, supposedly. But this thing is great for just for us. Yeah. Anything else?
I've got two questions. The one is your full page, was that generated?
No, yeah, so that's just the same as that page. But yeah, there are one or two, like index will obviously go to the slash. And 404, they'll make a 404 page for you. Because on certain like static sites, sometimes you need a 404.html. Sometimes you can have whatever you want. But yeah, that's just one of the things they do.
And my second question is, I noticed when you did the Gatsby build, it actually fired up a new local host with a different IP address, like 9,000 compared to the original one. So what happened? What's the difference?
So the first one was Gatsby develop, and that's for when I'm making the site, and that does hot module reloading. So that changes things when I type them or when I save very quickly. So that's not the optimized site. When you do Gatsby build, that actually compiles all the stuff into the static site, puts it into that public folder, and then Gatsby, I think it was serve, that was just serving that public folder, so you can see what it would be like if it was on, yeah. So yeah, that Gatsby serve was basically me saying, here's my site, it's in S3, query it. Cool, and the one more thing is you can also have like client-only routes. So you could have like a home page and like static stuff, and then you could go straight into like an actual React that doesn't get server-side rendered and stuff. So I think that's a really cool one too.
And can you share components between the two?
Yeah. There's a little bit of work if you're trying to send data in, but I mean you can adjust that if you want. Cool. Thanks. I think that was very long.